Hey guys, so if you've noticed, I've been gone a couple of days and I seemed to disappear right when Girl World was catching on fire. Well, one of the things that was setting Girl World on fire actually really messed with my head. So we're not going to actually do a reaction today, but we are going to be discussing what happened and why I feel that it's not okay. Because of that, I am going to go ahead and give a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about some pretty serious topics in this one. We're going to talk about DV, stalking, um, mental health problems. We're going to talk about those things. And then we'll also go over some other things. So a few days ago, Chantal started setting it up for it to seem like Salah was not everything that she claims he is. Um, and I covered the first one where she was screaming and calling him names online. And in that, I said if it's really that bad, you would gather your exit plan, start putting that exit plan into place, and then you would come on live and say, hey, this is my plan, this is what I'm doing. If you don't hear from me in 6, 7 hours, contact people. And then her live ended, and we came back with another live. And this one, she was hyperventilating and screaming. If something happens to me, it was him, it was them, it was, all of this stuff. And I started reacting to it. I started recording 5 minutes after she went live. Um, and I was sitting there and I'm like, of course this is Chantal, this is whatever, and I was reacting to it. And as it continued, I found myself just sitting and staring. And I found myself not really able to move or say a whole lot of things. Um, I ended up sitting for the majority of it and not saying a whole lot, and I ended up deleting the reaction afterwards. Waited till my husband got home because I just needed him home for me to be able to react to it. I am so sorry, guys. If I cry during this, I'm sorry. Um, Went back to react to it, and it was gone. Um, and he said maybe we should just take a few days. Let's take a couple of days. Because you guys did not know this, but while I was in the hospital, the last time I had a TIA, which is a mini stroke, and they kept me in the hospital for observation. While I was in the hospital, I got a secondary infection in my legs, so I have been battling that. And so my husband said, why don't you take a couple days? Let's breathe. Let's focus on your health, and we'll come back. Um, because the thing is, and you guys have asked for a story about how I met my husband, and that's what you're going to get in a roundabout way today. Um, I was with a man who was a great man. We never fought, everything was good. Um, he experienced some deaths in his family and he couldn't handle it. And unbeknownst to me, he had started using illegal substances. And overnight, he changed. Um, in the process of that change, he got physical. I've had all the ligaments and tendons in my left hand and wrist torn, and my life was flipped upside down. I ended things with him, and this man who had never raised his voice at me was suddenly threatening to come after me and my kids and to destroy everything. Um, it got so bad I was given one of the strongest VPOs that you can get in the state of Oklahoma, and even then it is a piece of paper, and that paper can be walked through. They said unless I had proof of him physically on the property at that moment, they could do nothing about it. So the harassment and the stalking continued uh, for about 8 months. Um, And the final straw with the 8-month time frame was that I worked right around the corner from where I lived, and you could see my house from there. And so, please, trigger warning, pull away if you don't, if you're not okay for this. I got a call from my boss, and she said, "Lock your door now. He's on his way." And one of my coworkers jumped over the counter and ran down the street and met this man at my door. And that coworker, uh, he's like a brother to me. Um, that coworker kept that man from coming through my door because he was there armed and ready to come through my door. Um, so while all of this was happening, there was a very, very good looking man who did deliveries to my job. And I didn't talk to him. I wasn't interested in anything or anybody. Um, and, I had this whole mess going on in my life that I really did not need complications. So, unbeknownst to me, um, he was interested, and my boss was telling him what was going on. And so he was always very sweet and very kind to me when he spoke. Um, but the day that the man showed up on my doorstep and Jose was there to stop him, um, talked to police, ended up going before a judge again, and the judge said, "You need to leave immediately, disappear." So I talked to my family, and I had family who would take care of my children because if they were with me, they were in danger because of this man. And I went and talked to my boss, and my boss said, "We will figure this out. We will get you someplace safe." Thankfully, I had such an amazing support system in my life at the time. Um, well, I had mentioned something to this delivery guy that I was leaving. I wasn't going to be working there anymore. And he went and asked my boss about it, and my boss explained that I was needing to disappear. And so the next time he came to deliver, he said, "When are you moving to my city? Whether you want to date me or not, I will look out for you. I will take care of you. I will do whatever I need to." And I needed somebody who had no tie to me, that my ex couldn't figure out how they were tied to me for my safety. So we talked to him about it. I talked to my family about it, and we found me an apartment a mile from his house. Um, I got rid of all of my social media. I quit my job. I told only 2 people out of my life knew where I had moved. I ghosted everybody. I went completely gray man. My whole life stopped because of the choices that this man made that weren't even my choices. And I went and lived a mile away from this delivery guy for our store. And he showed up every day, and he protected me every day, and he looked out for me every day, and listened when I cried and when I was scared. Um, and then we eventually started dating, but in the process of all of this, we came to town to visit, and my ex saw me, and he followed us back to Tulsa where we were living. And we ended up having to do the same thing again, and that's how we ended up living off grid in the middle of nowhere in a town of 29 people, so we could see him coming. Um, that man hunted me for 4.5 years. I had to give up everything for 4.5 years for my safety. I ended up with an absolutely amazing husband out of it. My family is back together again. Um, that man um, that was stalking me has stopped stalking me because he is in prison for attempted murder of somebody else. Um, so when I was sitting and trying to react to Chantal screaming and making all of these claims about Salah, I remembered what it was like to sit inside my home and listen to this man beat the door down trying to get to me. I remember what it was like to have to wait to have somebody walk me out to my car after work. Um, I, boys, I was put back to that time where I was so scared and so small, and I could not let on that I was scared and small. Um, remembering putting that plan into place, leaving half of my belongings behind, because when you're honestly in that position, it's not about, I want $10,000 and I'm not going to leave till I get $10,000. It's not about making sure you're comfortable. It is about, how do I get out alive? How do I get out to see my family again? So for her, this was a grift. For her, this was attention. For her, this was views and streams. But for people like me, even being able to sit and know that this is Chantal and that she is lying, it was extremely triggering. It was hard to sit through. What she sees as a money grab is other people's worst nightmares. So, I'm so sorry, I'm so emotional, guys. So I had to step away for a couple of days. I stepped away completely from Girl World. I have not answered emails. I have not watched a single thing. I have no clue what's going on in Girl World right now. And I have just spent time with family and my husband and focused on my health. Um, and I am starting to feel better. I feel secure. I am okay with things. I just needed, it has been a very long time since I have been back in that position. I overcame a lot and I am really strong, and I have literally stood toe to toe with my abuser. And I thought I thought I was good. Um, it just, it immediately put me back in that spot. So I will try to, at a later date, go back and react to it and talk about it, how it comes to Chantal. Um, but this is how it affected me. And I am sure there are plenty more out there like me. She is not just abusive and manipulative to her audience and to the people around her, but also to the people on the outside looking in. And I think she needs to be very careful about what she puts out there and how she reacts to things. Uh, this is almost very similar to the claims that Amber made about her aunt. These are claims that are very damning and very damaging, and they are hard to come back from. They are always out there. I know she has deleted the stream, however, I know multiple places where I can get my hands on said stream. It's there forever. Um, so I'm going to put this update video up today. My health is bouncing back. I have an MRI this afternoon. And then tomorrow we are going to try and get back to your regularly broadcasted show. Um, so until then, I am going to remind you guys that you are fabulous and wonderful, and I am so thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the people who reached out to me um, and let me know that I was missed. Um, I do not get that response very often because, as you probably have guessed, I keep my circle very small after what happened. And in the process of what happened, I lost all of my friends. Um, there are people who did so much for me, and they still to this day have no clue where I am or what happened to me. So those little reach outs, those emails, those mean the world to me. Um, make sure you hug your families today. I promise I will do better about not being an emotional mess on here. But I'm also going to remind you guys that I need you to be good and behave yourselves until I'm back. And if you can't, at least do it right and make me proud. And then post it online so we can talk about it later. Bye, guys.